morning, good afternoon, or good night, wherever you are tuning in from. This is a BS Buddies podcast. My name is Joe. That is Ian. Ian, what is our topic for today?
Today, we are each digging back in our memories to talk about times that we have been pulled over. Whether or not we deserved it, well, that's never, not once, never. It was
Nope,
never our fault.
never.
Joe will start us off with his admission of non guilt.
So, this is going back to when I was 18. Like, I just started driving. I waited to get my license just because I was lazy. Uh, during, uh, I had a film studies class, which Ian actually took the year before I did. Then we were filming a movie like at a local park, so we took my car, started driving out of town, and then shortly after I get out of town, cop pulls me over, and he's like, "Do you know how fast you were going?" And I wasn't sure, so I'm like 55, 60, and my classmates were just laughing at that answer, and I don't know why, but recently like there was some 50 speed limit of 55 signs that got switched to a 60, so like I wasn't sure if I think I was going 60 and a 55. I think that's what he pulled me over for. I'm like,
Wow, five
damn it.
miles.
It might have been that. I might have been going a little over. I don't quite remember. But he's like, okay, well, just make sure to slow it down. It's like, okay. Literally, the end of the month is the second time I get pulled over. I'm running late to a grad party, going down the highway, speed limit is 65. I get pulled over, pull off to the side, and it's the sheriff.
Oh,
So I'm like, well,
you're like, oh
he's
no,
like, how
bad.
how fast were you going? And it's funny because I learned in one of my classes, like between that time, that what helps that might help you. And if you ever get pulled over, this is something you could do. Uh, Apparently, it's a good idea to like just put your hands like on top of the steering wheel where they can see it just right away, so they don't have to worry. And I feel like that kind of helped in this situation. It was the afternoon, so he could see. So I put my hands up like just so he could see right away. Um, and he's like, "How fast are we going?" I'm like, "Honestly, probably like 75." He's like, "You were going 79 and a 65." Um, but
It's fine. It's fine. I got places to be.
uh, but when he came back, he's like, "I'm only gonna put you at 75." But as he was saying this, where Ian and I are from, it's very rural. There was a
Yeah.
train tracks that run along the highway. The train's just blaring on his horn as like this cop is trying to finish up with me, and we just like look at each other, and he starts like kind of smiling and laughing, and I just like shrugged like, "What are you gonna do?"
Like, oh no, it's the
uh,
rural train.
but he gave me a ticket for going 10 miles over, which it was like 120 in Minnesota. So I'm thankful he didn't put it to 79 because apparently it would have been like $60 more just for the 4 miles per hour over.
They find any way they can to nickel and dime you out of that. It's kind of similar to. So, my first time being pulled over was an interesting situation because that was the time that I still worked at the theater in town for, I think, about a year or two at the end of high school. I worked as the night manager at the local theater in our town. Great place, great little place. And one day, I think it was the weekend, I was set to open on a weekend, and my brother calls me. Keep in mind, I start work at like 6 in the evening, getting prepared for the evening shift. And my brother calls me at I think like 3 in the afternoon, and he's like, "Yeah, my Jeep broke down outside of town. Can you pull me home?" And I drove a Jeep Grand Cherokee, and he had an old just Jeep. I think it was Jeep Cherokee from like the early '90s, one of the boxy ones. Something happened with it; it wouldn't start. I don't know, not important. Anyways, I had to go out to him, and I had to hook up to him and tow him home. Now, Normally, home, Joe, you know the town just north
Yep.
of Wadena on 71.
Town that will not be named.
Yeah. Um, so I normally that's like 15 minutes away from where we're going, but seeing as I have to limp along at like 20 miles an hour, it's now taking a lot longer to get to where we need to go. And when I finally get him there and I unhook, I look at the clock and I realize it's like 5:55, and I'm like, oh shit, I need to go. I am gonna be late. So I start hauling ass out of town. And there's a zone at the top of the hill, which is 45, and at the bottom of the hill is where it turns to 60. I might have been pushing it a little fast at the top of the hill because I was really trying to speed up and get out of town. And then I see the flashing lights light up behind me. Oh, shit. And I knew it. I knew I was going fast. I knew I was pushing my luck with it. So when he stopped, he rolled up next to me. He's like, you know why I pulled you over, right? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, what? And he's like, what'd you do? And I was like, I was going probably about 55, 60. And he was like, yep, I got you going 57 going down that hillside or whatever. And so he took all my information, went back, ran it, and he'd come back up and he was like, well, because I explained the situation to him, told my brother home late to work and all that. He was like, you know what, seeing as it's your first time ever, I don't want this to go on your record. So he just turned it into a city ticket, which was like $60 to the city of Topeka, and it didn't stay on my record. And to my, God, 16, 17-year-old self, I was like, oh, thank you. Yes, you didn't ruin my life. But yeah, that was my second one.
I'm gonna skip
Or
my.
first, excuse me, first one. I don't know.
I'm gonna
Second.
skip my third one because my most recent one is pretty much the same situation as Ian's. So um, same thing. Like going up a hill, it was like a 45 or something, and then I got to the top, and then it was either 35 or 45, and I see like it my odometer or speedometer, the meter that tells you how fast you're going. It's at 60. I look over, I see a cop parked, and I'm like, son of a you
Oh
know
no.
what.
I'm like, oh no.
So I slow down to 45 as I'm passing him. Doesn't matter. I get pulled over, and he's like, you know why I pulled you over? Or I'm
Yeah.
like, probably. He's like, do you know how fast you were going? I'm like, thought I was going 45, and in my head I was saying to myself I was going 45 past you.
I was going
um,
45 past you, and then I sped
um,
up.
but he's like, I clocked you at like 61 at the top of the hill,
You're
which
like, no way. Let
no,
me show you that you peeled
I
out.
did not fight it. But I had the girls with me, and I was going to the hotel my family was staying at. I had a baseball game that day that they were coming to see. So immediately Debbie chimes in and she's like, we're just super anxious. He's got a baseball game today and we're trying to meet up with his family beforehand, and just rattles off like everything. And he's like, oh, what what team
Okay.
do you play for? Like what league? And I explained, and he's like, what position? I said, I'm a pitcher, and started talking about that. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, get, uh, let's see your license and registration. I have my license, and I look around and I'm like, I just switched my insurance because now I went from Minnesota to Wisconsin. And I didn't have a physical copy of my Wisconsin insurance or
Oh
registration.
no.
And I'm
You
like,
still something
well,
in there?
shit. So I call,
Huh?
and he's like, I'm going to give you a second to look for it. I'll go run this. And I'm calling my parents frantically. I'm like, what do I do? I don't have it.
I don't know
And
what to do.
they're like, well, uh, I have Progressive, so they're like, go on the app and then look it up. But the information it needed, like I didn't have, like I needed my like registration number, and I didn't have my registration, so I couldn't just look it up.
It's
So he
a
comes
great
back.
all around situation.
So he comes back and he says, "Did you find it?" I'm like, No, I have insurance. I swear I do. I just swapped from Minnesota to Wisconsin. I don't have a physical copy, and he's
Don't have my policy number off the top of my head.
he let me go. No warning, no ticket, no nothing. Going 15 miles over the speed limit, no insurance.
What a
Um,
homie.
yeah,
What a
I
G.
know.
What a
Um,
dude.
and then right before he left, he had a little like trading card of like one of the police canines, and the canine was named Bolt, and he handed it back to my stepdaughter, like so she could have it. Then before he left, he's like, "Remember, pitch fast, drive slow. You guys have a good day." Just walk back.
Oh, what a homie. What a G.
and
Oh, that's a
and
that's a good fellow right there.
I'm just sitting there like, did that really just happen? Did we
Like what?
seriously talk
Talked our way out
like
of it. Got the silver
if
tongue. And then you do a burnout on the way out, and he pulls you over. Yeah, he gives you a ticket.
uh
Oh God.
but
See
yeah.
that's almost completely opposite. Well, I wouldn't say completely opposite, but it's in the similar vein of my other two stories of getting pulled over. I was when I was still in the service, I was driving on base once, and I was using a buddy's car. He was on deployment at the time. He asked me to watch over his car. In exchange for watching it, he told me I could drive it, do whatever I needed to do as long as I maintained it and kept it running fine or whatever. Well, one of the headlights on it went out, and I needed to get a new one. But during the work week, I didn't wasn't able to make it into town to get to the parts store to go get one. So it was a weekend, and I went out of town on the weekend. I got the part I needed, and I had intended to be back on base when it was still daytime before I needed any of my stuff. But that didn't happen. So as I was driving back on base late night, I had my brights on. Both brights worked, so it looked like your lights were working. And out on the West Coast, it's fairly common to just leave your brights on out there. People don't turn them off for you like they do in the Midwest. Click them down or whatever. People just leave
You
them on
haven't
because
seen Wisconsin then.
they're assholes out on the West Coast. But
They're
anyways,
assholes in
besides
Wisconsin as well.
yeah. So I had my brights on and I was driving up to one of the stoplights. We were still kind of out where it was dark, driving through town or whatever. And I could see the military police car parked up ahead on the side. And I thought, oh shit, it's one or the other right now. It's a choice for either driving with your brights on, which I figured he was gonna get me for, because I never encountered the military police, so I didn't know what they were gonna say about that. So I was like, crap, they're either gonna hit me for driving with my brights on, or they're gonna hit me for having a headlight out. And of the two, I'd rather have them hit me for a headlight out, because at least I can say I didn't know that the headlight was out or that I was fixing it that evening. So I flicked my brights off, and sure enough, whee, the lights come on, and boop, they spin around, they get behind me, and I pull over, and we sit on the side of the road for 5 minutes. It felt like an eternity. I don't know. I had my license out. Um, I was sitting there waiting. I was kind of shit my pants because I was like, oh my God, this is my buddy's car, not mine. What are they going to say about my name not being on the insurance? And so as I'm waiting, I'm looking in the mirror. I'm seeing the lights. They're still sitting there. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And all of a sudden, I hear the siren, whoop, and he just fucking whips a little 180 right there on the road and hauls ass, just whoop, and he was gone the other way. And I never approached me in my car, never said anything through the megaphone. He just fucking, we sat there on the side of the road taking a little smoke break for 5 minutes, and then he hauled ass the other way, and I just went, I guess I'm free to go. And I got the fuck out of there before he could change his mind. So make of that what you will. And
Smart.
the final time that I got pulled over, which this one is much more the opposite of your nice one, but in a way that I was not driving the vehicle. So I'm not the one who talked us out of it. In fact, I probably made things worse, if anything, because it was 4th of July. and me and my buddy were making our way back on base from being out in town partying. My buddy at the time, good friend, love him to death. He was not much of a drinker, so he offered to be our DD for the night out. Sounds great. We all went out to the bars, had a fun time, yada yada. Well, as we were coming back on, we had some friends who lived in the on-base housing section, which is different from where our barracks was. Not very far, probably like an extra 20-minute drive. So it was kind of on the way anyway. So we were like, yeah, just come with us. We'll drop you off on the way home. So we're coming back onto base. My buddy's our DD. The rest of us are being loud and obnoxious in the car. And we get into the on base housing. We drop them off, kick them out of the car, whatever. We make our way. As we are heading back through the on base housing side streets to get to the main road to our barracks, we missed our turn. We were supposed to make a turn. We didn't. We accidentally went straight because we thought our turn was another block down, whatever. And it was like, oh, here's a little end cul-de-sac. We'll just turn around in this end cul-de-sac, make our turn, get on the main road, and go. Well, a military police car fell in behind us when we went forward on this cul-de-sac road, and we did the little Yui. And as we come through, we passed them, and we looked over at them, and they looked over at us, and it was just one of those moments where you were like, "Oh God, they're gonna do it. They're gonna. Oh my God." Like you could just see, like they were both sitting in the car, just staring at us, and we were like, "Oh God, they're gonna do it. They're gonna pull us over." Sure enough, we get up to the turn, our blinker is on, and they pull us over. So we stop. They come up to the window, and they're like, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" No, we really don't. We're just driving home. And they're like, "Oh, you didn't signal within 150 feet of your turn." It's like that cul-de-sac is not even 150 feet long. Bro, just tell me that why you're pulling me over. And it's okay. We're looking for drunk drivers because it's the 4th of July and they have extra patrols and because it's a military base, because they're not civilian cops, they can do that. They will find any minute bullshit reason. Sometimes they won't even have a reason and they'll pull you over for it because they can't, because it's military, because it's different. And so they pulled us over and they're like, "Yeah, we're looking for drunk drivers." And my buddy is driving is obviously sober, and he's like, "Well, I'm the DD and this is my buddy, and we're coming back from off base. We were out at the bars and we had just dropped a bunch of our friends off at their house. Bunch of friends who were also liquored up. When you have one sober person and like four liquored up people in a car, what's the car smell like? Booze." And it's bad because everybody was back there partying, so everyone was breathing hard. And so this cop, he's sitting there and he's, "Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure I smell alcohol coming from the car." And my stupid ass, who's been sitting in the passenger seat leaning back because I'm tired, I'm ready to go home. I sat upright and I'm like, "Nope, don't worry, that's all me," because I'm trying to tell him, no, he's sober. I'm the one who's inebriated. But it came out as, "Nope, nope, that's all me." And he just looked over at me and was like, "You shut up." And he looked back at my buddy who was driving and he's like, "I need you to do all these sobriety." And my buddy, as he's like, "Oh, fuck, okay, so we got to go through this whole shebang." He gets out of the car, they run him through the whole sobriety test, and the whole time my buddy is telling him, "Dude, if you have a breathalyzer, I'll just blow into the breathalyzer. I'm stone sober. I haven't had a single drink tonight. Just let me blow into a breathalyzer and be on our way." And finally, the cop, apparently they were waiting for another car to come to do the breathalyzer, but after like 10 minutes or 15 minutes, it didn't come. So the cop was like, "Well, I can obviously tell that you're sober, so we're just trying to check and make sure you guys are being safe. So just get out of here and go home." And my buddy goes, "That's all I needed to hear." And he turns around, he comes back in. I'm still sitting there with my ID in my hand going, "What? Are they going to come check us?" And he's like, "Nope, just put your seatbelt on. We're getting out of here." And we just left, and that was the whole interaction. And it was, oh God, it was just funny to think back on it. Because I sat in that passenger seat the whole time going, "Are they gonna come ID me, make sure I'm allowed to not be sober?" And then got in the car and was like, "We're going home." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Shut up, put your seatbelt on, we're going home." Okay.
uh, my third time getting pulled over out of the four is like the second one you said. I was at my parents' house, then was leaving at night. I lived close enough where I would make weekend trips very regularly. Turned on my car and noticed on the garage door of my parents' house that's not as bright as I'm used to. I'm like,
Oh no.
oh, I one of my bulbs is out.
Oof.
I had an hour and a half in the dark to drive.
Oh, oh no.
So I'm like, well, and I wasn't worried about not being able to see, which is funny, but I was worried about getting pulled over. So I'm driving around, like, I get literally 10 minutes away. I get pulled over. Oh, like
Oh no.
15 minutes away. For those in the Fargo Moorhead area, that's where I lived. You know that Glendon and Dilworth, Minnesota, they love to pull you over before you get to Moorhead. And I've
Yep.
been warned about that so many times. Never happened until tonight when I got pulled over in Glendon. So I'm like, son of a pull in. And then, like I said earlier, I did the thing where it was nighttime, so I turned on my mirror light, put my hands on the top of my steering wheel,
Yeah.
and um, a female officer came and she's like, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" I'm like, "It's because of the headlight." She's like, "Yep, it's because of the headlight." And she's like, "Why? Why are you driving with it?" I'm like, "I can't. I'm driving home from my parents' house. I didn't realize it was burnt out until I had to leave, and I'm gonna get it fixed as soon as possible." And she's like, "Okay, license and insurance." And I'm very bad with mail, and this is when I was on my parents' insurance, and they would give me the insurance cards. I didn't
Oh no.
have a recent one,
Oh
uh,
no.
so I didn't have like the non-expired one. I'm like, I have like 3 expired ones. It's all the same. She's like, just give me one and I can run it. And it's like, okay, give it to her. And she walks away. And she came back and said,
Oh,
okay, just make sure you get that bulb fixed and you're good to go.
and you're like, all
like,
right, thank you.
like I've been pulled over 4 times, and the worst one was the first one. And the cop didn't seem very nice, but the rest were just super chill. I think
You're
because
like,
I
all
was
right,
just flat out honest, and I'm like, "Hey, yeah, I did the thing you pulled me over for. I knew what I was doing. Um,
there's
my
nothing I can do
insurance,
about it. What do you want me to do?
my insurance is either not here or expired, but I will give you what I have." And like this is the story. What you saw is true. You are correct, officer. And they're
That
like,
headlight is
I
not working.
and it's like, he said I was right. Yeah, I love that. Let's send him free. Let's go.
Ah, come on. Just let me check your insurance. All right. Put that tint job on the windows. You're going to jail for. Step out of the car, please, sir.
Yeah, tint on my Chevy Impala.
Paint job is absolutely ugly. I'm gonna need you to step out of the car, put your hands behind your back, spread your feet, and
Fun,
lean against the hood.
funnily enough, the car I currently have used to be a police car.
Oh, I got the squad car fit. Fooling them. Flying under the radar. I see how you are. You're trying to
Too
make them
bad.
think you're
Too
wanted.
bad it's all stock on the inside. I don't got like the bars or anything. That'd be cool.
None,
They could
none of the
have just kept the
computers and
lights
the
on or something.
communication equipment.
The laptop in the front.
Yeah.
Uh, but it is time for quotes.
Time for quotes. Yeah, it'd be good if
Um,
I thought of some, huh?
um, I looked up car quotes, and these all suck.
Our quotes? Yeah, you're not gonna get anything good out of
Like,
that.
okay, here's one: Instagram captions for car selfies. If life is a journey, I am all about enjoying the ride. There's your corny quote for the day.
Ah, that's a good one. That's a good one. I'm trying to think of one, so I'm stalling, but I can't think of anything else to say other than that's a good one.
That's a that's a good one to say when you don't know what to say. when you don't know what to say because you're
That's a
stalling
good
because you
one.
don't want
That's
dead air.
that's what I'm going with. Is that's a good one. All right, inspirational quotes. We're gonna go with My God, why Christmas quotes? No, I don't want Christmas quotes. Christmas has passed. I was trying to click on New Year's quotes. Here we go. And now we welcome the new year, full of things that have never been. Sure. Horny.
Well, yeah,
I'll go with it.
this is not a good
My,
episode for quotes.
the stalling was not worth it. I did not come up with a good one in the end.
But if you made it this far, we appreciate it. Leave a like on the video. Thank you for BSing with us today. Subscribe or follow to become a bud today. And if you want us to talk about something, leave a comment down below. But we will see you next time when we get a ticket. I don't
Let's
know.
hope not. Let's
Yeah,
really hope not.
let's
I don't
really
need
hope
anything.
not. I mean, that we would have to get a ticket in like 4 days time, and I don't plan on leaving my house too much. So
Who the hell am I kidding? Drive fast, take chances, kids. Take her easy now.
that you could have just used that quote. Whatever.
If you ain't first, you're last.
Goodbye.
Ricky Bobby.